Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Monday edition of Moohead Radio. I'm your host, a big and furry bovine, and for the next whatever amount of time there is, we'll talk about, a little bit about what happened yesterday, but more a bigger picture of what expectations should be predicated on the past and the present. And before I get into the Browns specifically, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers head coach Todd Bowles going in front of the press explaining why he put a guy in who had a concussion back into the football game. And again, I'm just going to say that this is coming to people's attention now, and it's always one bad case that opens people's eyes to something. And in this case, Cameron Brate collided with his own teammate on a crossing pattern. It, to say the least, was a bad fall. He didn't get up right away. Took him a long time. When he did get up, tried to get himself off the field, and he ran into an official. Guy was disoriented. Yet he was right back in the game afterwards until halftime. Enough time had transpired when Todd Bowles went before the cameras today to say, oh, well, we just noticed it at halftime. Fuck you. Anybody watching would know. A fool would know. So I start out with today's show with the fact, once again, the total brutality and inhumanity of the game of football, which ruins it for me personally and makes me not really give a flying fuck what happens. But I will say this attached to the fuck you to Todd Bowles and the Tampa Bay franchise. I will say this. One of the injuries that Myles Garrett sustained is an AC joint sprain. And I could show you, it's kind of the inside of the shoulder in through here, which is consistent with a force if you fell to the ground and you tried to catch yourself and you had your arm outstretched. Just think of like if I was falling down on the ground, I'm a big guy. He's a big guy. If you had that kind of movement, it would sprain your AC joint. In his case, it was a car with G-force that was flipping over multiple times. And probably the harness, the seatbelt that he was in, probably jarred so hard because of the force of the car hurtling through the air and rotating, revolving, that he ended up with an AC joint sprain. I'm not a doctor. Have had the injury, though. And if it's a simple sprain, 2 weeks. In most cases, which his wouldn't be simple because he was going 65 plus miles an hour and he flipped a car, 4 weeks. And it's the kind of injury that just simply won't heal. Does this sound familiar, Baker Mayfield fans? It's the same thing all over again. If you see Myles Garrett in a game next week, or even the week after, as far as that goes, then you'll be hearing me chastising the Browns organization, and I may call in. I may try to reach somebody somewhere in that organization, because I'm sick of people getting hurt, and I'm sick of people being taken advantage of. Hey, Coach Wilson, how you doing?
Doing good. You talk about the Brate thing?
Yeah, it's just unbelievable.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is just like deja vu all over again. Yeah.
Did you see what Todd said? Todd Bowles?
Yeah, he thought it was a shoulder injury. Yeah. Well, I mean, they don't understand that all things are connected. I mean, I could show you back here. I have a bone spur The bone spur is in my cervical spine at C6, C7. And it actually touches my spinal cord. And sometimes I lose balance. It's crazy. And it's just the luck of the draw that there's, a bone spur there. But things that, if your neck gets whipped, it's like whiplash. If you're in a car accident, people don't understand that you can get concussions if your neck whips and your head. I mean, where a lot of concussions happen for boxers is they get knocked down and their head hits the canvas, and the canvas is hard. And that concusses the back of their head. But it's also the neck whip. And yeah, of course, you're going to feel it in your shoulder. All the nerves that run through the spinal cord. I mean, my goodness, you're talking about C1 through C7, and then you're sending pain into T1, T2 in your thoracic spine.
Referred pain.
That's right. And it's ludicrous for a coach to stand there and try to tell us, I thought it was a shoulder injury, when he ran into an official trying to get himself off the field. I don't know what more they need to see, but they don't want to see it because they don't give a fuck about anything except the cash register.
And he said something like, basically, he didn't say his head hurt, so
right.
What?
Yeah.
His head's probably numb.
Well, you can't take the word of somebody who just had a concussion, now can you? Here, we want you to basically diagnose yourself when you're in a state of concussion. It's brilliant. What would it have hurt taking him off the field and waiting and sending him to the blue tent? But no. We asked him a question. That's not the protocol. There's supposed to be a protocol in place, but they're a favorite franchise with Tom Brady being there. And the bottom line is they're not going to be held accountable, and I will hold them accountable, as I'm going to hold a lot of people accountable in today's program, because there's a lot of talk about accountability, but there's more to the Browns situation than simply meets the eye. I want to point something out to begin this program. And it's like Sisyphus and the Rock. He gets halfway up the hill with the rock, and the rock pushes back down by gravity and runs him over again. He never gets up to the top. Football's very much like Sisyphus, and it's not just that way for Cleveland Browns fans. Cleveland Browns fans will act as if they're the only fans who experience this kind of misery. But let me share with you the worst records in professional football over the last 10 years. I think that this will tell you everything you need to know. You would think that over a 10-year span, it might even out. Number 1, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Number 2, the Cleveland Browns. Number 3, the New York Jets. Number 4, the New York Giants. Number 5, the Washington Commanders. Number 6, the Detroit Lions. Next, the Las Vegas Raiders. Next, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and that was prior to Tom Brady. Next, the Chicago Bears, then the Houston Texans. This is not like today's news, folks. These teams stink. They regularly stink. And the reason they stink is because the ownership of the team is rotted from the top and they make bad decisions. Right? I want to tell you a little story about a restaurant that was down here in Sarasota, amongst other places, called Sam Seltzer's Steakhouse. Sam Seltzer's was probably one of the most popular restaurants in Sarasota when I first got here. But when the recession in 2007 hit, they had to make some changes to their business. But the changes that they made were not exactly the best changes. They decided prior to 2007 that was the time for expansion. So they decided to go from 6 restaurants to 11. And bam, the recession hit. And then once the recession hit, they couldn't afford to run 11 restaurants. So what they did is they cheapened the food. They started messing with the steaks so that they were tenderized in-house, declaring their steaks to be USDA choice, when in fact they were running it through a meat tenderizer and covering it up with the char marks from the grill.
You can't get away with that.
Well, no. I mean, the bottom line is they went broke. Right? And it goes back to what I was saying in the post-game show yesterday, that bad decisions will always yield bad results. The Jacksonville Jaguars and their ownership, I mean, everybody was so thrilled when they hired, it goes through a whole litany of people, okay? But when you finally get Ohio State's head coach and you're like, this is it for us, man. It's the same people making the decisions. He turns out to be worse than Lou Holtz was, okay? Worse than Lou Holtz. And that is saying a lot. Man, it's not like he's going to be found back in college football again, because now everybody knows what the deal is with him. But the Jaguars made that decision, and if it were anyone else, it would be like, well, that was a great decision. For the Jacksonville Jaguars, it was just another bad decision because they didn't do their homework about this guy, and had they done their homework, they wouldn't have hired him. The Cleveland Browns, I'm doing a favor to by saying they're the second most losing team in the last 10 years, because it's been going on a lot longer than 10 years. But I'm just basically going through the Jimmy Haslam years for y'all. All right? So if you thought that the guy, Al Lerner's son, Randy, if you thought that he was autistic like I did, and that he purposely ran away, hi, Bronk, and that he purposely ran away to merry old England in order to get away from the Cleveland Browns because he was a know-nothing, do-nothing guy, Are
you talking about me again?
Yeah. Jimmy Haslam jumps right into ownership and becomes worse. So you got the Jaguars, the Browns, and you got the Jets. Oh, well, we got Sam Darnold. But don't worry, we have a new quarterback. It doesn't matter. Losers lose, folks.
Wow, Mark Sanchez, Chad Pennington. Yeah, we can go on and on about them.
Yeah, turn your mic down a little bit because you're coming in a little hot.
I'm on my phone, so...
Oh, okay. Well,
let me move away. Move away from the phone.
Yeah. I don't know. You have a hell of a loud... you should be happy they got a good microphone. What kind of phone is it?
It's an S20. S25G.
A Samsung.
Yeah.
Samsung. Okay, good. All right. Then you got the New York Giants. They're still remembering Lawrence Taylor, but New York Giants, I mean, there isn't anything good you can say about the New York Giants, except they got Saquon Barkley and he's coming back. Lovely. But for 4 years of being in the league, to get 1 year out of him. And he'll never be exactly the same as he was. Then the Washington Commanders, we keep talking about the owner, Daniel Snyder, about the Commanders and how something has to change. Nothing changes at the top, so nothing changes on the field. The Detroit Lions was the same way. They wanted to blame Matt Millen. Matt Millen, who is the worst general manager in the world. You wanted to blame him. But it's the owner. It's the goddamn fucking Ford family.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I mean, and that's bad news. And what is that scratching noise? Are you eating?
No, I'm probably moving about. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I thought you were pulling a Tony the Calf on me. And then you have...
well, I am trying to sleep at some point. I will go to sleep.
The Las Vegas Raiders. I mean, the Chicago Bears. They're still talking about Jim McMahon. And they're waiting. And the Houston Texans, and DeShaun Watson couldn't save them. Why in the fuck would we think that he could save us? It's beyond
Well,
one person. It's
well,
just
think
beyond
about
one.
just to interrupt you there for a minute. The DeShaun Watson thing may save Texas after all because they traded him away for all these draft picks. They're high draft picks, so it may save him.
No, the Texans will choose the wrong people.
Oh yeah, okay.
I mean, this is
Okay.
what
Okay.
the whole thing is all about. Is that people who are not good at what they do, who are bad decision makers, make bad decisions. It trickles down, and the team will never win. The Browns will never win. Okay, just get it through your heads. They will never win. They haven't. You shouldn't be surprised that they're not. You shouldn't be sitting there going, oh, we should get Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield is the last rated quarterback in the NFL. Baker Mayfield would have been benched already had Sam Darnold's sprained ankle healed normally. But the fact is that it's taking it way longer to heal because it was a high ankle sprain. And they're stuck. They have to stick with Baker Mayfield, who had 5 more passes batted down at the line of scrimmage, threw 2 interceptions, and lost 1 fumble.
He was
so
bad
day
yesterday. So
Yeah,
bad.
he was terrible.
Yep. Baker will never be a starting quarterback in the NFL after what happens to him. And it's not because I wished it on him.
No.
It's because he wasn't that good to begin with, folks. Some of you idolized him. Some of you ridiculed him. The bottom line is he can't make the Browns good. He can't make the Panthers good. He can't overcome Matt Rule. He couldn't overcome, Freddie Kitchens. He couldn't overcome even Kevin Stefanski. And the bad teams remain the bad teams. And if you want to look at who the best teams have been over the 10-year period, well, number 1, the New England Patriots. Number 2, the Kansas City Chiefs. Does that surprise you? Number 3, the Seattle Seahawks, back when they had a Russell Wilson that was functional.
Well, let us guess.
No,
Let's guess what they...
I don't want the show to elongate.
Okay, Green Bay.
Green Bay would be after that, and then Pittsburgh after that.
Ravens.
The Saints, and then the Ravens. But it was a Drew Brees factor. We're talking about, But the bottom line is bad decisions yield bad results. And, what we're seeing, Jim Giles, is the real Cleveland Browns every year. You're seeing the Cleveland Haslams. That's what you're seeing. And you will every year that you watch. So you got to get used to that. You can't get so emotional about, we find more ways to, or this is the same thing I see every week. Of course it's the same thing. Because no matter how many different players that you bring in, it will affect them all the same way, because after a while, they'll just stop trying. And accountability is nowhere to be found. You've got, Kevin Stefanski. I mean, I could not believe, at this point, Joe Woods, I've already fired, and I'm firing Stefanski today. All right? Now, it's not going to happen because we have to have 2 more years of this schmuck before it really gets bad. All right? There was hope, and things started looking good, but his act isn't going to float. And his comments that, and I'm looking at, I'm trying to find the article. Stefanski takes responsibility for loss, but change must follow. Okay. But basically what he was saying, I'm frustrated that I didn't put our guys in position to succeed, adding that the game was nobody's fault but my own. That's what he said at first. But when he had the time to think about it and he came in front of the cameras on Monday, he thought something very different. And when they talked to him about Jacoby Brissette, he threw him under the bus. Threw the guy under the bus. He said, yeah, there were some things I did. There's some things that he did that he wants back. We just have to get better. He just basically just called out Jacoby Brissette because of a 3rd and 23 pass because of his stupid ass play calling. And, you know, he wants to cozy up and say, well, they fucked up, I fucked up, we all got to clean our act up. And that takes a little heat off him. I don't want the heat off Stefanski. And there's no reason to throw water bottles at Jimmy Haslam because he's going to be here no matter what. So if you want to start attacking people and you're really frustrated, you can do one of two things. You can just stop paying the exorbitant price to watch this team play and not put money into the guy's pocket and just say, fuck him. Or if you love football so damn much that you have to watch, then you just deal with the fact that you will always be one of the worst teams in the NFL because of who's at the top. And the more, I'll tell you something that I thought, but I know today, I thought yesterday. The 4th and 3 at the goal line, all right? When they were basically 3rd and 1, and then they rushed to the line of scrimmage for no fucking reason. And the play got blown up because the guy from the right side, it would be the left side of their line, defensive line technically, blew up what was, a play and lost for 2 yards. 4th down, we run a set where now this is for all the marbles, the best play you can come up with. Harrison Bryant is in the game. Chubb is in the game. Njoku's in the game. Cooper's in the game. But only 2 of them went out for their pattern. Only 2. Chubb stayed in the block. Harrison Bryant stayed in the block. Don't you wonder why Jacoby Brissette was back there looking like, where am I supposed to go with this? And the answer was, it was designed to be thrown to the right side, but there was nobody there. And Amari was all the way in the far corner the opposite way. And he tried to come across. There wasn't time. So there was no chance that play was going to succeed. I mean, why wouldn't you, if you believe in your offensive line, you should have run it in. But you not only not believe in them, but you don't even believe that they can protect the quarterback. You got to keep 2 potential receivers out of the play. So you tell me how 2 or 3 people in a pattern are going to get open from the 3-yard line when a team has all of those defenders in the end zone waiting. You tell me how that can possibly work. Hi, Renee. How you doing?
Hi there. Great. How are you doing?
Well, I'm just telling the truth today, and it's not a matter of anger. It's just a matter of understanding that there are people who are responsible for this. They're not accepting responsibility, and it's obvious that bad play calls, what it yields, and then turning your finger and pointing at Jacoby Brissette, who's the only quarterback who can play for you right now. And he can't be very happy about the fact that the coach threw him under the bus by saying, yeah, I made some bad calls. He made some bad plays too, and I'm sure he wants them back just like I want them back. It's like, don't put me in your fucking boat, Coach Stefanski. Don't put me in that boat. I'm the one who's gotten you the 2 goddamn wins you've got this year, you stupid asshole.
Yeah, if you want him to play any better, he's a totally different quarterback then. He'd have to be a different person. I mean, this is what Jacoby Brissette is. I mean, come on. I can't ask for any more out of him.
I mean, that was the idea. And believe it or not, I've seen articles being promoted behind the paywall. I'm not telling you how I get behind that people, of Cleveland.com, which I should tell you all that A, you don't even have to subscribe to break that down. And B, if you have subscribed, do what I did. I canceled my whole DirecTV today. No more DirecTV in my house, and never will be again.
Why?
Because they have been doing things surreptitiously, and I want to warn every viewer who has DirecTV, which I'm sure there's a lot of you, that you can go season by season on the NFL Sunday Ticket, but don't believe that that's what's happening. They're automatically renewing people, and if you don't believe me, this is what I got in the mail, and this is what prompted me to do this. I've written on this because there's information on what I have to return to them. You see what that says?
Yeah. By the way, Direct is not the only one. There is another outlet that has also been basically banned from using any of NFL Network channels. So it's not just Direct, but.
So, again, so that you understand, automatic renewal notice, and I will read this to you, and what it says is, the last communication from us was incorrect. The great news is your NBA League Pass subscription is actually $99.99 for the 2022 season. You'll enjoy another season of slam dunks, and you don't have to do a thing. Your subscription will automatically renew. I don't have a subscription. I go to my goddamn site. I go to the site, and I look into my account, and no, I didn't sign up for that. And you want to know what finally got... I don't mind you knowing who I am, Greg. I think everybody knows who I am. I got such a fucking big mouth. Everybody knows who I am. And what they basically have done at DirecTV is they have looked at people who in the past regularly subscribe. I've just been going year by year. They love the auto renew because they just keep jacking the price up. But now you can't see how much they've jacked your price up. Because if you go to their website and you look into your account portal, you can't see what your monthly bill has been for the past couple of years. Even though it says they're all zeroed out. This is a Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
This is a company that needs to be put out of business. So I'm going to tell everybody, same thing that I say about Cleveland.com, who should also be put out of business, blaming the people that they're blaming and actually writing an Ask G article about Jacoby Brissette when Jacoby Brissette wasn't the issue in yesterday's game at all. So DirecTV, I said, I'll make it easy for you. I'll just cancel my whole account. That way, you can't auto-renew anything because I'm sending the fucking equipment back to you, and that's what it is. But my bill for television monthly and I did this intentionally because I could afford to do it, but I don't want to do it. I wanted to see my bill had escalated during sports seasons to $400 a month.
Oh my God.
That's what they do to people who are on auto renew, and they try to do the auto renew thing even when you're not auto renewed, and they jack the price up. And the bottom line is they're dishonest people, and just like Jimmy Haslam, they don't deserve to succeed. And I'm sorry for the Browns players who play for this team and this organization. The guy doesn't deserve to win.
I am looking at articles now, and I'm just unbelievably upset, frankly. They want to gripe about Brissette, but everybody wants to toss Watson under the bus. And what's left? What? Dobbs?
Yeah, that's what's left.
He's
and that's
not
what
that
some
bad.
Browns fans are saying, well, we'll play Josh Dobbs. It doesn't matter. Don't you see it doesn't matter? I'm trying to tell these, and this is the hardest part about doing what I do, is trying to communicate a simple idea. And it's like, Well, we're going to wait until DeShaun Watson. And now, what? DeShaun Watson, quarterback, the Houston Texans. And the Houston Texans are right there as one of the worst teams in the last 10 years. We just went over that.
Wait a minute. That's not true.
It is true.
No, it's not.
You want to see it?
No, I'll tell you what I watched with them when they had, who is now with the Cardinals, although out because of some drug that he did, with DeAndre Hopkins and DeShaun Watson. No, they didn't make it to the Super Bowl, but they both are together with that team 2 or 3 years straight until year before last. They were their conference champions, and those two were all-stars together. So yes, they can bark about the quarterbacks all day long, but what did they get when they came out of it? Absolutely nothing. And that's what's going to happen with the Browns if they don't stop jacking around and calling out these people.
Now, I have it up right in front of the world to see.
I'm looking. Hold on.
The bottom line is, and this is not a rap on DeShaun Watson.
Right.
DeShaun Watson got selected by the Houston Texans. That's where he had to go to become a professional football player.
That is right.
So as soon as he had an opportunity, he got as many hand jobs in Houston as he could. And then, and then he went to Cleveland because Cleveland would give him a guaranteed $230 million contract. All right. And nobody else was ready to take that step.
Right.
So, that is what it is. And it's not, I'm not sitting there saying that it was DeShaun Watson that caused that team to be bad. It's that team and that ownership caused a 70-90 record over the last 10 years and made DeShaun Watson into a losing NFL quarterback.
And
Matt Stafford, same thing in Detroit.
That's right. Same thing. I mean, you can't win when you're playing for an organization that just is run by dunces and make horrific decisions.
Easterby.
What?
Easterby was their arch nemesis.
I'm not following you.
Jack Easterby, he was at one point general manager, and he's the reason DeAndre Hopkins left for the Cardinals.
Right.
But he couldn't get along with anybody, and of course he made sure that with the Texans, he still sticks around, but he made sure with the Texans.
What happened?
I guess we lost her. I don't know.
She just went away. I don't know. Come back. Come back, little Sheba.
But to your point, Moo, I mean, you could put anybody in there. It doesn't matter if it's Tom Brady or Pat Mahomes, whoever. If the coach is calling plays where you can't even get a guy open,
or you're only sending out two men and 2 to 3 men in a pattern when you're on the goal line congested. Go ahead, Renee. I don't know what happened to you, but you're back.
It was me. I'm waiting for something specific, so I might have to dip out at some point. It's an emergency as far as family is concerned.
Oh, I hope everything's all right.
It's not, but we'll go into that another time after it's over.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, sorry to hear that too.
Thank you. I appreciate all of you. What I was saying, Jack Easterby made sure that he controlled everything right down to the plays. He's a general manager. He's not the coach. The coach couldn't do anything because the general manager wouldn't do it, and he couldn't get along with anybody. Bottom line, as long as that man is still in that building, although he has now supposedly retired, he's still there. So as long as Jack Easterby is hanging around the Texans, they will not get anywhere. They'll get far enough not to be the one to get the first round draft pick.
Yeah, they'll be right. They're going to be in the middle, guessing at number 14 or whatever.
Right.
Right.
They're not going to get anything with him. But as you were saying, please go ahead.
All right. So the headline now is saying depleted defense may have influenced the Browns' fourth down call. So now they're trying to point out, and what we know is that we were playing with a second string defensive line. All right. Depleted. That's an interesting word. I'm looking at stats. These are facts, folks. Jordan Elliott, who's the only guy who really had starter credentials, played 91% of the snaps. Isaac Rochelle, 89%. Alex Wright, 82%. Togiai, 67%. Isaiah Thomas, 44%. And Perion Winfrey, 29%. Let me just put it to you this way. Curtis Weaver was active but did not play a single snap. The reason they ran through that defensive line like a hot knife through butter was the guys were gassed. And afterwards, there were comments pointing out that they were gassed. They were exhausted.
Totally.
So that's what happened in the game. And you're going to say, well, they're pros. They shouldn't be gassed. And I will say,
oh, my God,
the same thing that I will say to you about everything. We knew in the offseason that we were light in our defensive line, and we did nothing about it. The organization, from the top, as far as the front offices, the ownership, front offices, the draftniks, all of the people did what they were told to do, like good little Nazis, and they did not look for a wide receiver, and they did not look for any help through the free agency market or through the draft for their defensive line. And free agency would have been the way to go, because bringing in a rookie defensive lineman isn't going to do a whole hell of a lot for you when, you already have the Tommy Togiais of the world, Alex Wrights, and the Isaac Rochelles. The bottom line is another bad decision that resulted in the worst possible conclusion. And then you have knuckleheads like Myles Garrett, who flips his car, and he's going to miss now multiple weeks. So he knows now. He knows, because he has a sprained AC joint in his shoulder. He knows that he's not going to be the defensive player of the year because he's going to miss too much time. So by the time he comes back, he ain't going to give a fuck. You mark my words. The whole team is, I told you this on Sunday, and I'm telling you again, they're not going to give a fuck. And the reason they're not going to give a fuck is because nobody above them gives a fuck.
Thank you.
No
Thank
leadership on this team.
Everything is being done by, statistical based kind of, analytic kind of things. People are people.
Right.
And analytics only will tell you what a person has done. But if I judged the people who worked for me based on what they did before I got there, they'd all be fired. It was the environment. The environment killed them.
Right. I'm going to say something you don't want to hear. I don't like the attitude, honestly, of the fans up there. They don't support the team. What's the point in having a team if you're not going to support your team except to bitch about it, basically?
Well, they bitch about everything. They bitch about politics. They bitch about everything. I mean,
okay, I bitch about politics.
Yeah. Well, the bottom line is everybody is, just trying to get on social media and get as much attention as they can. They're all basically a bunch of Kardashians run amok,
Apparently.
Attention grabbers, attention whores, if you allow me. That's what you get from people, and that's why they behave that way. But again, if you look at the decisions not to get wide receiver, are you telling me that you would have only had 2 or 3 guys in the pattern on a 4th and 3 if you actually had better wide receivers? And the answer is, you watch teams like the Buffalo Bills, you watch teams like the Packers who win in the end of football games. They have guys who they can throw the ball to, and, the protection will hold up well enough for their quarterback, or their quarterback will buy enough time to be able to find somebody eventually who breaks open in a little seam in the end zone, and that's how they score. This team doesn't have that. And to make matters worse, they wasted 2 players in Harrison Bryant and Nick Chubb coming into block. And all it did was it prolonged the agony of the play because, Brissette had no one to throw to because there was nobody in the pattern. And there were guys just literally swarming like bees around every one of them. So, when you have no defensive line help and you play them this percentage of the time, and the thing that's amazing about it, if you said to me, you're playing the Atlanta Falcons, what concerns you the most? And I would say, well, they run the ball real well, and that Mariota's not going to kill you by himself. So all they did is when they tried to run their injured guy, Kaderl Patterson, and then they bring in some guy who wasn't even in game shape, who ran through him. It was the offensive line that was mauling the Browns' defensive line, who was an oxygen debt, and they couldn't, You're telling me, listen to this guy. Listen to this guy.
Read that. I can't see it.
Says, Moo, you're wrong. On that play, Njoku was wide open on the sack. If that's it wasn't the sack. He threw the ball over Njoku's hands, and it hit against the retainer wall in the end zone. Hello, McFly. No, the important 4th and 3. You're talking about another play in which the play was designed for Njoku. There was a play, by the way, as far as a little screen pass where Njoku lined up in the wrong spot. And by the time the clock was running down, Brissette waved him over into the proper spot, but by then the entire timing of the play was ruined because it was clear that Njoku didn't know the play. He didn't know what he was supposed to be doing, and so he never got out in the screen, and it never happened. The other one was Hunt, a screen pass that would have gone for a touchdown, but the pressure forced him to double clutch Brissette, and he threw it into the ground. Had he just gotten it into the hands of Hunt, he could have run forward for a touchdown, virtually untouched. In that case, it was the right play call, but the execution was poor.
Here's a question. Is Brissette not capable of using his legs? Or does he have anybody on the line that will help him get that extra 3 yards or a touchdown?
Well, he sure as hell proved that he does have legs by the touchdown that he did score. Yeah. I mean,
going back to that play where Chubb and Thiggy are in there blocking, if they actually went out on a pattern to let their guys free, then maybe Brissette would have been able to swerve and avoid them and have a hole open up that he could have run into. But if everybody was all concentrated around Brissette, he had no opening in which to get out and run the ball in himself. He was just basically a dead duck back there.
So, he's not a great scrambler, but he's a big man. And really, when I looked at the play where he decided just to throw it up at the last minute, I think that had he decided to charge into the end zone with his size, he may have had a small percentage chance of getting in. He may have.
3 yards?
Yeah.
It's hard, though. How many 2-point conversions get knocked back? I mean, the defense is a very small area to defend for that. And they all, because the offense has a guy with the ball. Yeah, exactly. The defense always has a spare guy.
And, he went back, and he was looking into the end zone, and there were only three receivers who were even out there. And so he, and the way that he got thrown under the bus by the head coach, it was ridiculous. He goes, yeah, he threw it, but he threw it too high and he threw it too hard, and he wants that one back. The guy wasn't open. It's like you can say he's open all you want. The reason, I mean, the only way the play went was to the right side of the field.
Yeah.
Why was the play designed to the right side of the field? And Amari Cooper, who's our best receiver, was on the left side. Why would we do that?
You wouldn't. That's the
Yeah, I
point.
know.
He should have at least, and I realize the position he was in, but he should be able to scan and see what he's got out there and who is covered. Ought to be able to get it in there one way or the other, whether it's Amari Cooper or otherwise. But my thinking is the same as yours. Why not go for Cooper? Was he covered too much? And is Brissette capable? Realize, please, people, I'm new to the Browns team, so I don't know everyone, but I'm learning. As far as that's concerned, is Brissette not looking at the field to see who is and who isn't covered and being prepared to, try to do this in the pocket while he has protection?
Yeah, I think in a situation like that, he rolled out, he looked right off the bat, and he knew the play that the primary was stoned, all right, cold. The guy wasn't open. He bought himself time by rolling to the right, but by that time, he was a good 10 yards off the goal line. And by the time he rolled out looking for somebody to throw to, everyone was kind of coming in on him. So he didn't do anything wrong in the play. The play design was poor and nobody was open. And, that's that. And
you could have deferred to Cade York, of course. That would be my next point.
Right.
I mean, what'd you draft him for?
Well, that was
and he's good.
Of course he's good. And the thing that's amazing is we have a conservative head coach, and that conservative head coach won't take the 3 points.
Yeah.
He's too good for the 3 points. And what he's saying basically to the defense is, I don't trust you anymore. That's what he's saying. So he didn't take the 3. And I knew that the 3 would come back to haunt him, which it most certainly did. But if you're the Cleveland Browns playing with Jacoby Brissette and you are what you are, doing what you're doing, being a rush first team, you better take the points when they're in front of you.
Right.
You're going to be in a close game and you're going to need those points, but he's not smart enough to realize that. He keeps passing on field goals and he keeps doing it. And after the game, he says, well, there's still things I got to learn. And what you need to learn is what fucking road gets you out of Cleveland fast as possible.
Yes.
That's what you need. Stupid ass. I'm sick of
I
this.
really thought he...
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I really thought Stefanski had something coming in or was bringing something to the team. That's what I expected. What I'm seeing, just like you, he doesn't trust his guys, neither on offense or defense. He is lowering the morale of everybody, and he doesn't need to be there. If he can't accept what is given to him, yes, it's likely that somewhere down the road there could be a fumble, there could be an interception, and he could make more points. But the bottom line is, do what you need to do to put points on that board for the W. That's bottom line.
Especially the backup quarterback.
Right.
I think he tries to outsmart everybody. I think he's got an arrogance about him in the sense that, I'm going to outsmart Atlanta on this quick snap, or I'm going to outsmart, that I deserve the touchdown instead of the 3 points sort of thing, because I'm going to come up with this genius play that's going to, get a wide open receiver. And he's outsmarting himself is what he's doing.
That's the wrong defense to try to play that way.
Well, here's the
Falcons.
thing here's another one. The Baltimore Ravens lost. And John Harbaugh stands in front of the press and he defends going for a touchdown over a field goal on 4th down because it gave us the best chance to win.
Yeah, they're similar. Harbaugh and Stefanski are similar in a lot of ways.
But in this instance, this is a guy who's a defense first guy. John Harbaugh I mean, the reason that there's a problem and has been a problem with the offense in Baltimore is because they had a hurt running backs last year, and because his penchant for wanting to keep the ball in the hands of tight ends and running backs and letting his quarterback run his way into a future leg injury. And now all of a sudden he breaks ways with his usual, well, I'm going to take the sure points and I'm going to lean on my defense to get the job done. But he's lost belief in his defense because his defense is, after what happened with the Dolphins, he doesn't believe in his defense anymore. So
Harbaugh, he's got the best kicker historically in the NFL on his team. It's given 3 points whenever Tucker goes up and kicks a kick. It's insane.
Yeah, and here's the thing that's great about it all. After he does that, Marcus Peters, their cornerback, gets right up in Harbaugh's grill.
Yep.
And they're going at it, and he's going after the coach. All right? And Harbaugh says, well, emotions run high. We're on the same page, he and I. No, you're not. We have a great relationship. We have an honest relationship. Yes, he thought you were a schmuck for what you did. I love him, and I hope he still loves me. I'm a Marcus Peters guy.
Oh, jeez.
Well, honest to God, if you're a Marcus Peters guy, put Marcus Peters Peter in your mouth and show him what kind of love you have for him. But you got no love. You got no love for the defense if that's the approach you're going to take. And of course, you know, when a bad decision is made, what happens is it's like, well, we've got the future $1 billion quarterback. We got Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson throws an interception.
Yeah.
They lose. They give up, and the field goal beats them at the end of the game. They lose. And it's like, what are you going to tell me? I mean, and afterwards, Lamar Jackson's like, well, we'll get it right next time. Well, Lamar, you've got something to learn. You're playing for John Harbaugh. You're playing for a bunch of people who are Greg Roman clones offensively as far as concept is concerned. And you could never be as great as you think you are, Lamar Jackson, in that kind of system. It's always going to be a controlled system. You're an amazing athlete, Lamar Jackson, but you got no deal for next year, Lamar Jackson. And they hold the cards, you don't. The Ravens had a 20-3 lead, just like they had a big lead on the Dolphins, and they let it all get pissed away. But it's only the Browns that it happens to. Fuck you. It happens to a lot of people who make bad decisions.
Yeah.
The Ravens don't have the excuse of not having J.K. Dobbins. They don't have the excuse now that they don't, but the bottom line is they're no better than we are record-wise. Now, they're a better football team, I hope. But, yeah, and of course, I told you that, the only time that Joe Shithead shows up here on the program is when things are going swimmingly in Baltimore. He didn't come here to talk about the Orioles, did he?
No, probably not.
No. And again, I think that there's a better chance because they do have a basic scheme and system in place that has won in Baltimore. It just is inept offensively compared to defensively, and now all of a sudden those older players who are done, I saw one of their old players who was hinting last year at retirement did officially retire. Another one of their guys to their secondary, the name's not coming up in my head right now, but they've lost help,
When you say what we lose in all of this is it should be a team, not just an individual or a few individuals. Make it a team. You don't need all good names everywhere. Pull out of free agency. Go there to get your people. And you're not going to pay as much for them. So that helps your bottom line. But if you look for good recruits to create a team, not just one or two good players, I don't care who you put on the offensive line. If they can't do the job, and think about all of them. Your wideouts, your what are they? All of them can't do their job effectively if they don't have help. It is a team effort. Line them up as a team, bring in people that are going to do their jobs, or get rid of them. Find a way to, say, I'm done. You're not playing as a part of a team. Well, in this case with Stefanski, he's not playing his guys as a team. He's depending on one person, basically. Two, three, on offense. But he has nobody protecting them. And as far as the defense is concerned, they're light, very light. So when they start to recruit again, they need to think like a team and recruit. Where your guys are getting hurt is where they're not being protected. Okay, get rid of the guy that's supposed to be protecting them.
I'm seeing something in the chat. Evan Mobley twisted an ankle. He sprained an ankle.
Yeah, what's that all about?
I don't know. 1 to 2 weeks. That's what Ron, and Ron is a reliable fellow. Out 1 to 2 weeks with a sprained ankle, and
my God.
Yeah, you're always worried. You're always worried, and I don't know. What happened. I'll be reading about that afterwards, I'm sure.
What's his position?
Evan Mobley is a forward.
He's
the four.
Okay.
And he was a center in college, but because we already have Jared Allen, he learned to play the 4, and he's an exceptionally important piece. But if it's 1 to 2 weeks, that would indicate it's not a high ankle sprain, and would indicate if it's just a garden variety sprain, that he'll be back. And he knows what he's doing as far as got a cool head and knows the system. That should not hinder the Cavaliers. Now, for a high ankle sprain, then that would be a dreaded, not good at all. This headline: spectator at Steelers game dies after fall from escalator. This is terrible. A spectator at Sunday's game between the Steelers and Jets died following a fall on an escalator at Acrisure Stadium. Yeah, I know.
Wow.
Acrisure Stadium. The Pittsburgh Department of Public Safety said police and emergency service personnel were alerted after a male spectator fell around 4:45 p.m. shortly after the end of New York's victory over the Steelers.
Did he jump, fall, or push?
No, I mean, according to people who were there who witnessed, because the stadium was,
empty.
People were leaving. Yeah. That he was leaning for the button to push to get to his right floor, and he didn't realize the difference between an elevator and an escalator.
Or was there too much to drink, potentially?
No, I mean,
you're being funny.
I'm being really horribly evil. But no.
I would have thought he jumped, after that game. So he just leaped over the side of the escalator. Couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah, the paramedics administered care on site before he was transported to the hospital in critical condition, but he died very shortly thereafter. They have not identified the man publicly anyway. And so that's really a shame.
Hold on. I saw that, and there has been an identity.
Oh, really?
Yeah, hold on a sec. Let me look. That was today as of 9:52 this morning. Let's see.
Yeah, I mean...
that was at Steelers-Jets game. 27-year-old Dalton Keene of Monica, Pennsylvania.
Man. Too young.
Yeah.
Too young. My goodness.
Well, that's why I kind of worry about Derek going to these games because he gets all emotional and everything. And there's crazy people that go to these things, get absolutely hammered. And if you say the wrong thing to the wrong person, you might have a problem. I mean, the case, and the League One and the football here. So you just got to be careful.
Yeah.
We're in a world where you can't be in public and expect to be okay. I carry a gun for that reason.
No.
Well, that's a bit extreme.
You don't?
I live in England. We don't even do. Yeah, we don't have that here. Thank God.
I am a female, and being a female, and I'm going to say it, and it's going to sound horrible, relatively attractive. It's not always fun to get out in public. Am I prepared to shoot someone? Yeah, I am.
No. Well, I couldn't shoot somebody.
Would I want to? No. That's a different story. Would I want to? Absolutely not. But it's either me or them. There go.
Yeah, if you think things are bad in Cleveland, I mean, I feel bad for the people who bought themselves Baker Mayfield jerseys. I mean, the only worst jersey is New Jersey. And to be honest with you, this whole thing that Sam Darnold is hurt worse than what they thought he was hurt, and now they have to sit and live. Baker would already be benched. He would already be benched.
Yeah.
Would all be done. You're watching what happens to average quarterbacks when they play for bad head coaches like Matt Rule.
He's been injured. He's probably still injured.
They become bad quarterbacks with bad teams, and then they get this again. Baker was drafted by the idiots in the front office of the Browns, and I'd be the first to admit that they didn't handle his situation well, but why would they? They don't handle anything well. Wow. Baker didn't handle it well either. And if Baker thought that he could just go out and play and that everybody was going to offer him big bucks, regardless of what happened in Carolina, he is the new Sam Darnold.
He is.
He's going to be, he's going to try. And if it continues, he'll be the next Josh Rosen. He won't even be able to make a roster. And that's where Darnold basically stands, because if Darnold comes back, Baker's going to be sat down. Yeah. If you lose your job to Sam Darnold, who basically lost his job in 2 different franchises, then you're the next one that's going to go that way, and they're not going to win anyway, and Darnold will be off the team as well. You could very well see Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold sitting unemployed, waiting for a team to call on the phone.
Yeah.
That will never happen.
No?
Too many new young players and too many in free agency for them to ever be picked up.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely hurts their chances, and I would be remiss if I didn't add that Tony La Russa is stepping down as the White Sox manager. They keep talking about heart trouble, but they didn't really specify the heart trouble, and I still have questions about this, if for sensitivity reasons. I mean, I read the article just like you all read the article. La Russa, who's going to turn 78 on Tuesday, he hasn't managed since August 30th after doctors told him he needed to undergo further testing related to a heart issue. And the interesting thing was, as soon as he left, the White Sox started winning, but then they couldn't sustain it because the Guardians came in and kicked their ass. In a head-to-head September series with everything on the line, the Guardians and their young kids came in and kicked the White Sox ass. But there were questionable decisions being made throughout the season. And even when the White Sox won the division last year, there were questionable decisions being made. And I wonder in the back of my mind if there's a Pat Summitt head thing going on here.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, this is my own prejudice showing here, but there are just too many old boomers out there in positions of authority all across. Well, here in England, but definitely in America. And we were talking about Al Michaels the other day. He's 78. You can mention any number of politicians in America that are over the age of 70. Maybe there should be a constitutional amendment that you cannot be a senator or a representative or a president over 70 years old, because they're getting in the way of regular people progress. And
Right.
Tony La Russa obviously has lost it.
Well, they hired him and they brought him back into the game. And I don't know. He always was looked upon as some kind of a baseball genius back in the 80s. But then that was 40 years ago. I mean,
exactly.
He was...
we were all geniuses back in the 80s.
Yeah. But it is an unfortunate
No, I was
thing.
stoned.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult. If you're losing your way, it's difficult to manage a baseball game with guys going in, guys coming out. You know, you got people who go, defensive replacements, this and that. But on 2 occasions this year, with 2 strikes and no balls counts, he intentionally walked hitters.
That's crazy.
And in the one case, which happened against us, he walked a guy who was 0-2 in the count to face Jose Ramirez, and Ramirez went deep on him. That doesn't make any fucking sense.
That's the Chewbacca thing. That don't make no sense.
Make no sense. Yeah.
The Chewbacca defense.
It don't make sense. Yeah. So, wait a minute. Chewbacca is a Wookiee.
It's a Wookiee. Okay, well, it is.
From the planet of Endor.
Before.
From the planet of Endor. It don't make sense.
Oh, jeez.
That is ridiculous.
Oh, we haven't had the Peter Ellis play of the
I
game.
promised I would
Oh,
do it.
jeez.
All right. Wait. Yeah, I'm going to feel sorry for somebody altogether different. Oh, Lamar Jackson. Oh, for goodness sakes. You put your lifelong career in the hands of John Harbaugh. When you're an offensive player, it's one thing if you're a defensive linebacker. It's one thing, you see, if you're a defensive linebacker with a knife that you're holding in your hands at the site of a stabbing. You can get away with that, but not you, Lamar, because you want to be a throwing quarterback. And the only thing that you'll be throwing are temper tantrums.
Well done.
You do that too well.
Well, after watching too much golf, I mean, I can only hear Peter Allis talking about Tiger Woods. Oh, his back is fused. Oh, look at him. He can't pick the tee up. Oh, best get him over to the ball washer. I don't know how he's going to climb it, however. Yeah. Oh, not that kind of ball washer. I'm sorry.
Okay.
That's how.
It's really bad when some woman has that thought and you speak it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, oh, he fell off the ball washer again. Make it stop. All right, I got to get the hell out of here. It's 10 minutes after 7, and I just want people to understand. I'm going to continue watching the Browns because this is what I do. I have fun doing it. But being upset and being pissed off, I expect nothing more. I expect nothing more. Hey, Lenny the Cow, even in here. Take a bow, Lenny the Cow. All right. Don't leave Moohead. Well, I am Moohead.
Boo.
Yeah.
I
would
leave
stay
the program today.
If Lenny the Cow actually came on the program, I might stick around for just a couple of minutes, but I understand. Everybody in Moohead Nation loves you too, Joe. Lenny the Cow is history, and he's family here on Moohead Radio. And we all commiserate whenever bad things happen for the Browns. And right,
Which
Mark.
is like every other day, bad things happen to the Browns. It doesn't even have to be a game day for bad things to happen.
I was about to say, what's new? From
every
one day
time,
to the next.
every time a player gets into his automobile, now we're going to be scared. I mean, there doesn't seem to be a good in between here.
Sequester them in the locker rooms, but then again, they'll get in fights because they're all competitive. So that's not even a safe place.
I think they should have to live permanently in those big plastic bubble balls, that you see at halftime. They have to spend the entire week living in those things.
No. God. No, there would be dead players. That would never happen. It would especially never happen with women on a team. We can't get along for, the dirty words. You can say it, me. No.
Well, you know what I say. What we found out about you, Renee, is if DeShaun Watson's packing one way, you're packing another. So we're
not going to mess with you, that's for sure.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Well, you're a little bit of a distance, and my gun won't shoot that far because I'm in the South.
Yeah, well, I could make comments about my time in the upstate, but
it is a wonderful place. It's a beautiful place.
It is. It really is lovely in a lot of ways. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I like my time up there. For God's sakes, Lenny, you're going to start the Kellen Winslow stuff.
Oh, wow. Yeah, endos in the parking lot.
Now, this is funny. I'll put this up, then I'll go. This is funny. Yeah, wouldn't that be it? You know?
You gotta love Big Lurker UK. He's a Middlesbrough fan. You gotta love him. That's great. Of the English League. All
right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be back again on Friday. As always, Bronk, Renee, my goodness, Coach Wilson, thank you. And everybody in the chat room, thanks so much. We'll be back again on Friday to talk about what horrible things are going to happen next when we have to play a real football team. Until then, hasta la vista, Pastor Heads. Good night.
Good night.